Oh, and this is where I start to have a lot of opinions. Okay. So I was especially curious how Rebirth was going to handle this particular scene of events based on what I knew took place in the original game, right? So I played the original game in the 90s. I've played it again a few times actually since then. So I'm very familiar with it. And in the original Final Fantasy VII, so you actually meet Priscilla and Mr. Dolphin, and they actually call him Mr. Dolphin, and you meet them down at the shore, and then Priscilla accuses your party as being from Shinra, and she doesn't like Shinra either. And then she is the one who is attacked by this giant sea monster creature, the same one from Rebirth, actually. And then Cloud's party fights off the beast and then rushes to Priscilla's aid on the shore. And this is where I always felt it got particularly weird in the original game. So Priscilla, at that point, is apparently not breathing, and a townsperson, one of these elderly townspersons, comes down and commands you to do CPR on her. And the CPR turns into a mini game.
That's right.
Where you have to push a button to fill your lungs with air and then blow that air into her mouth. And it's not, you think it would be straightforward, but it's like you have to like hold or multi-push the button or something. And she's like not breathing. And it took me a while to figure out, I'm like, she's gonna die. Like, this is weird. Like, I remember when I played this, like, I was like, am I really playing a mini game about Cloud doing CPR on a little girl? Like, it was a total tone kerfuffle for me.
It was very awkward. And then I remember like when she comes to and she's like in the accusatory phase, I was like, throw her back in the water. Yeah. I'm not having this. You just saved your life and then you're over here accusing.
She like runs away, right? I mean, but it was just weird to play a game about doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on a little girl. Not to mention, like, oh, and it was juxtaposed against this, like, calm, matter-of-fact music. That was playing in the background. So it's just like, la la la. Just like the typical village music. And I just remember that scene was weird to me then, and it's weird to me now.
Wait, was it Priscilla? I thought it was Yuffie.
No, it was not. That's the thing. Okay, that is the thing. It was Priscilla, this little girl. So in Rebirth, Priscilla is the one who yells for help, but when we rush to the shoreline, it's actually
Yuffie.
It's Yuffie,
Okay,
and
so
she's out in a canoe and she's being attacked by the sea monster.
Right.
And
that's swimming. Okay. After you beat the beast and you're in the water and you see Yuffie lying there like almost dead on the beach and they're like, help her. The speed at which you swim.
Maybe someone should go find a doctor? There's no time.
And you're the furthest person. Are you the only one out of all of those villagers who can do chest
And it's
compressions?
just like this really slow, like swim.
Yeah, I took my time.
Go faster.
Yeah.
And I laughed. I was like, this is hilarious that the devs are making us swim this slowly towards a dying person on the beach. I couldn't, I was laughing out loud. I'm like, this is ridiculous. My anxiety's up through the roof. I don't even care anymore. Go ahead and die. I'm just over it.
See, I was like, wait, it's Yuffie? What is happening here, right? Because that is not what was in the original game. It was Priscilla. But yeah, in Rebirth, to your point, Yuffie's out in a canoe being attacked by the sea monster. Eventually, she's the one who gets knocked out, and then she gets thrown onto the shore, and we go and fight the beast. And then after we defeat it, then it's Yuffie who's not breathing on the shoreline instead of Priscilla. And then Rhonda demands that Cloud help do chest compressions while she does mouth-to-mouth to revive her. And then Yuffie wakes up. She freaks out, thinking that Cloud is some perv trying to touch her chest.
You picked the wrong girl, creep!
So, I mean, obviously, this whole thing is quite different from the original game. And I mean, you could really say it's an actual rebirth of this whole scene.
Yeah, but I actually thought that like the Rebirth version was actually tongue in cheek because it felt to me like because the original one was so awkward, the Rebirth version, like they took it and they ran with it and they tried to like make fun of the fact that the original one was that way, but instead of a little girl, thankfully they put an adult, right? But the point is like,
but Yuffie's not an adult.
Yeah, she's like 16.
Well, I mean, in a Final Fantasy world, right? Like not like,
touche.
You know, what's Cloud, like 20 or something, right?
Something like that.
I think Barrett's the only one that's an actual adult, right? Like he's probably in his 30s or something, I'm guessing.
And maybe I needed, so one of my favorite things about this game is that they don't take themselves too seriously and everyone's in on the joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to be. And that's why they can get away with things that might be super weird. But First, I'm glad that they dropped the awkward CPR minigame. I think that was the right move, right? But second, to me, this scene is still awkward. And not just in a way that like, oh, we're being intentionally awkward with like Cloud appearing to Yuffie to be some perv, but the fact that the scene was written this way, like who came up with this idea? It felt more awkward and lame to me than funny. Now, maybe some people out there, maybe most people really liked it. For me, I was just like, wait, what? If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment and tell me what you thought about this scene, because maybe I'm alone. I just felt it was weird. And I like to laugh through this game, and most of the humor works for me. But my biggest problem with this scene is, for anyone who's played the intermission or integrated Yuffie remake DLC, or even advanced later on in Rebirth, you know that Yuffie is this kick butt ninja who flat out dominates, right? She dominates. And here we're supposed to believe that she's this damsel in distress out in a canoe and she stops breathing when some big fish knocks her over. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. To me,
big fish.
It did not work. It didn't work. She's like destroying giant machina, like with her ninjutsu with no problems in other places. And here she gets knocked over. She's like,
yeah, let me help the writers out on this one, because I know I always take their side.
You like to take the writer's side.
Two things, right? Number one is she's out in a boat on a canoe on the water, right? So she's not on solid land where she has an advantage, right? She's at a disadvantage because this thing is a water monster.
Yeah, but she can basically just jump in the air and be on land. Like, she's that ninja.
Number two is usually, right, the ninja's advantage is that they're the ones in the shadows stalking the prey. They have first mover advantage, right? In this case, the monster got the one up on her.
No, I don't buy it.
It's one of those where it's like, I don't know, this water monster was weird anyway. Like even the fight itself was like the little spouts of water that were coming up. I was like, oh, this is odd.
I was just distracted by the speed at which you swim towards the dying person. I just couldn't.
I love it. That's like what you
so frustrating.
But that shows like how empathetic you are to the characters, which is good, because you're like, I want to save her, and I'm like, why is it Yuffie?
To me, that was like annoying, but expected, because to me, it's the exact same thing of like having to crawl to Sephiroth and having to push those giant vacuum cleaners around.
Ernest hates going slow.
Yeah.
So slow.
It's annoying.
Okay, well, regarding the writing, like you're talking about, right? From a writing perspective, as a writer. So I think that this scene was an attempt, and I appreciate the attempt, to fix the awkward scene from the original game while simultaneously introducing Yuffie to the party. Right? They're trying to do both of those things at one time in this scene. But it ended up evolving what was awkward into like a different kind of awkward, and it just didn't work for me. But if I were to rewrite this scene with the same two objectives, okay, so like introducing Yuffie, we want to do that, and fix the CPR awkwardness of the original game without going too far from it.
Swim faster.
Swim faster. Yeah. But I probably would have kept Priscilla as the sea monster's victim and then had Yuffie show up to help save the day and work with us to defeat the monster. Because she's friends with Priscilla, so she would have the motivation, right? They've mentioned that later on. And then you could have Rhonda and her team revive Priscilla as our party watches with more of a concerning than humorous tone, and then have Priscilla thank us and say that she'll do what she can to help us while Yuffie runs off and then appears at the end the next morning. It wouldn't have been as funny, though there would be moments in there you could sprinkle some humor in there. But to me, that would have fixed the problems that I saw with the scene. But then again, maybe I'm the only one who had those problems.
I didn't even think about that part.
Really?
To me, it was just part of this long-running gag that's been going on now for
the chest-touching perv thing? That's like so lame.
Not the chest-touching perv thing, but like this whole like love triangle thing with Cloud and the other two, and then like here's a third one that it's just a gag to me. I don't know.
Maybe I'm reading too far into it.
And then I also thought, like you said, like they realized the original one was kind of cringe and they tried to lean in on it.
I do appreciate the idea of leaning into this scene was so over the top weird that we're going to lean into that. Like, I appreciate that. So if I'm just the lame person who maybe was in the wrong mood when I watched it.
Well, you've never liked Yuffie.
Well, okay.
Well, back in the original, sorry, I don't want to jump ahead, but ever since she stole your materia, you're like, I hate her.
You remember that?
I do. I'm sitting on your purple beanbag. Yep.